All right, Matt, thank you for that live report. And our team coverage now turns to Western Mass News reporter Olivia Hickey, who's been following this story for us all afternoon. Olivia.
It's the guilty verdict heard across the globe, Abby and Chris. We spoke with former Massachusetts Supreme Court Justice John Graney for his take on this afternoon inside that Manhattan courtroom. But before we get to that, here's a look at what we're seeing in New York City right now. The former president's motorcade leaving the area at the moment. Again, former President Donald Trump is found guilty of all 34 counts in his New York hush money trial. We will be bringing you the latest as soon as we receive it.
All right, Olivia, thank you. Breaking it down for you, the former president, as you've heard, found guilty on all 34 charges that he faced in this criminal trial after the jury deliberated for about 10 or 11 hours over the course of 2 days, yesterday and then again earlier today. He is now the first former president of the U.S. to be found guilty of felony charges in the country's nearly 250-year history. Now, breaking those charges down further, the former president, was found guilty on 11 counts pertaining to invoices for legal services, 11 counts regarding checks paid for legal services, and 12 counts related to ledger entries for legal expenses. Burnout in the workplace, nothing new. It can happen to anyone at any stage of their career, but for nurses, the problem is nearly epidemic, and research suggests it could negatively impact the care they provide.
Western Mass News reporter Maria Wilson sat down with nurses and hospital leaders on what's being done to address the problem.
Marielle Barneski has been working as a telemetry nurse at Cooley Dickinson Hospital for about 2 years. She's already seen many of her colleagues come and go.
We're often short-staffed, which can be really hard, both physically and emotionally.
She tells Western Mass News significant staffing issues are causing burnout and pushing her colleagues out, not just out of bedside care, but for some, the profession altogether.
A lot of nurses aren't able to take their full lunch break in a 12-and-a-half-hour shift. That's really grueling.
And it can have an impact on the care they provide.
It's really demoralizing when day after day, shift after shift, we're filling out unsafe staffing forms, which can be really, truly dangerous for patients.
But Barneski isn't alone. According to recent data published by the Massachusetts Nurses Association, 80% of nurses say the quality is getting worse, blaming too few staff and a lack of support from management. Barneski loves what she does, but is concerned about what the future is going to look like.
I'm pregnant with my first kid. I'm kind of thinking about work-life balance as a new mom. I already feel anxiety around, if we're short-staffed, how am I going to get off the floor to pump? I want to, be able to stick it out.
But some healthcare leaders are listening.
They're the heartbeat of healthcare.
At Bay State, hospital leaders find recent data concerning, which paints a grim picture when it comes to just how physically and emotionally exhausted nurses are. They've tackled this issue head on, creating and constantly expanding their holistic nursing programs, with this simple question at the forefront of everything they do.
How can we heal our healers?
It started with a simple idea and a few spare rooms.
The room we're standing in was started by a thought from one of our staff nurses.
Since 2018, it's grown from 1 to 13 renewal rooms.
They wanted these rooms. They created these rooms.
Each room, designed with Zen in mind, have aromatherapy, music, and a massage chair when staff need a moment to reset.
So 3 hours into the shift, you could have a difficult experience. You could lose a patient that you love, that you've had a relationship with for years. You could have 8 more hours of your shift to go. This is a place for the nurse to come in, catch their breath.
Alexandra Bowden is a nurse at Bay State. She often finds time to slip away from her busy schedule on the cardiac floor to use one of these rooms.
We have to have times and places, spaces specifically designated to our own relaxation and kind of clocking out for a little bit from all of the stress that we have here. Because if we don't, we do burnout.
Research suggests 1 in 5 nurses in Massachusetts plans to leave the profession within 2 years, citing burnout and exhaustion as major reasons for leaving. Hospitals around the state are struggling to cope with the staffing crisis. But Bay State leaders say it's programs like the renewal rooms that are helping them push the needle in the right direction.
In the last year, we've seen a 5% decrease in our turnover at the bedside for our nurses. So we think we're doing something right.
But the work is not done yet. Barneski says things like critical shift bonuses, so in other words, making a little extra when the unit is short-staffed, would go a long way in boosting morale. And over at Bay State, they're continuing their mission to heal the healers with several holistic programs already in the works. Reporting in studio, Maria Wilson, Western Mass News.
We reached out to Cooley Dickinson Hospital for a response to some of Barneski's concerns. They sent us a statement which reads in part, like nearly all hospitals nationwide, we're facing unprecedented staffing challenges driven by a nationwide shortage of healthcare professionals, increased patient demand, and increased acuity of patients. We're focused intently on addressing staffing challenges through a variety of recruitment efforts, retention programs, and continual evaluations of staffing needs. We have open channels for staff to voice their concerns and an unwavering commitment to working collaboratively with our nursing teams to create a supportive working environment.